Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60andMe. Thank you so much for being here today. Hope you're doing well. I want to talk to you today about something that isn't as fun and sexy as fashion and beauty. It's not maybe as intriguing as relationships and downsizing, but it's probably the one thing that we should talk about more than anything right now. We all live on social media. We are online all the time now. We do our banking online, our shopping online. It is, especially with the recent pandemic, we are taking all of our activities online. So we're spending more time on computers and phones, and there's a dark side to all of that I want to share with you today. Well, it's a dark side and it's a light side because there are ways you can deal with this. What I want to talk about is elderly scams, common scams that target the elderly and how to avoid them. Now, I'm going to be pulling quite a bit of research from a project that was done by Comparatech about the whole area of scams that target the elderly. I would encourage you to take a look at the article. This video will only cover the very top highlights of these different categories of scams. And more specifically in the article will be how to deal with it. I'll give you an overview, but it's a very comprehensive article. Comparatech did this research with a great deal of thought and consideration. And I think relative to the world that we live in right now, there's just not a more important topic. We have to take care of ourselves. And when we go through these kinds of traumas and difficult situations in our social setting, there's maybe more activity in these areas than in a normal kind of world. But I don't know what the normal world is anymore anyway. So let's just jump in a bit and talk about some of the elderly scams that you are aware of probably yourselves, and maybe some that you're not. Now, Comparatech mentioned the statistic that is just astonishing to start off with, and that is, did you know that there are 5 million cases of elder fraud committed every year just in the United States? That's 5 million cases, results in $27.4 billion worth of loss. That's a B, billion. Apparently, of all these are just elder fraud, but 38% target the elderly specifically. And this is because if you put the lens of the person who's the scammer these days, elderly people are seen to be more susceptible, they're more vulnerable, and perhaps more gullible. That's the image, that we're more likely to fall for a scam than someone who's more analytical and not going to fall for it. That's of course a stereotype that we can challenge. But those are the kinds of the impressions that a scammer might have of an older person. So we're attractive because, number one, we live alone. A lot of us over 60, 70 live alone. We don't have a network of friends that you did when you were younger. So you can't really call someone up and say, hey, I just had this phone call, or this has just happened. Can I chat with you about it? There's not this kind of social support system that you might expect when you're a little bit younger. So scammers like this. The elder people don't have someone to go to and chat with, about their day-to-day life. It's true, especially, and I'll say this as a woman over 60, is that, we like to chat. We're chatters. And I think women in general are more conversational. But this is a very good point for scammers, because all they need you to do is just reply to one message or one email or one outreach, and then they've got you, or they think they have got you, because you will chat on, you will give information that they need. And sometimes, and they do a very good job at Comparatech of talking about this, it's just from the side. Like, it's not they ask you directly, what is your social security number? But they'll ask you to do something that takes you to a website, for example, where you have to reveal that information. So it's not always it's subtle, and it's an art that has been, used over the years, and, successfully for a lot of people. The second thing, in addition to not having social connections, is that we have got money. We've got, some of you are probably nodding, not me, but as a statistic, older people have a little more money, and they have well-established credit scores. So they've got a lot of information about them on the credit score websites. There's also, and this is a generalization, and please don't take it the wrong way, is that there just tends to also be a little bit of lack of awareness of cybersecurity as you get a little older. You may not be as up to date on technology. You may just not be that comfortable with technology. But that cybersecurity element is so important. There are things that you can do. And so knowing and having an awareness of that is a strength. But it's something that's perceived as, for older people, don't have that cybersecurity awareness. We also have common problems problems and challenges. One is health concerns as you get older. So that's a great topic for them to talk about. Loneliness, of course. Lots of women, I'm afraid, lose their husbands in their 50s and 60s. So a lot of women are divorced. And you'll find a lot of times conversation on platforms like Facebook and Instagram and other channels will target articles that are about relationships, divorce, funerals, things they just know there are people there that are interested in that. So that's something completely different to talk about. I do want to mention that we're going to have an interview with a gentleman from Comparatech in a few weeks that's going to go into very specifically Facebook. What's going on not just on our site, but all around the world on Facebook channels, and how to avoid some of those romance scams. That's going to be one that I'll talk about briefly in a sec. So those are the kinds of things that they see in us, and the challenges, the kinds of scams might include advanced fees. I'm going to just go into these in detail, but I'll list them. Advanced fee scams, grandparent scams, tech support scams, identity theft, and also romance scams. Those are the ones that I'm going to just kind of cover here at the moment. And there's, of course, tax scams and health scams. There's just so much out there. You have to keep your eyes, ears, mind, heart open. So advanced fee scams. And by the way, as I mentioned, this article on our website is so thorough. It's just got everything that you would need to know here, but I'm going to skim through the top level of some of these for you. So advanced fee scams are where a scammer will ask you to make an upfront payment and say that it's going to benefit you in the long run. So it can be kind of an investment scam or something like that financially, where you're giving them money. They've promised that it's going to make you more money in the future. Grandparent scams. Grandparent scams are very, very popular with scammers. They just basically get your phone number. They call and they say that they are your grandchild or someone representing your grandchild who is in some kind of difficulty. They've been arrested. They need money for bail. Now, when that happens, I know, the panic that goes on in your heart. Like if you think that your grandson or daughter is in some kind of trouble, you want to help immediately. But be careful. And then, of course, we go through this in the article, but the challenge is that they will have researched you and your grandchildren and have a lot of information. But you've got a couple of things you can do. Of course, one of them is to ask very specific questions that only you and that grandchild know. Like, where is your birthmark? Or, just really, and don't be afraid to do that. I mean, this guy or woman might sound like really, really nice, like, oh my gosh, we're trying to help you here. But just say, well, if you're my, I need your help. Say, well, if you are really, Susie, where is that birthmark that, blah, 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 the injury that you had, whatever. What do you call your dog? Anything, and then they'll hang up, or they'll just know that you're going to not just give in to their questions. Anyway, in the article, there's lots of information on that. Tech support scams, these are a big one, where a technical support person, in quotes, will call and say, your computer's been infected with a virus. They'll either say it like, and I've infected it and you're going to pay me money, or they'll say, we've just detected, I'm from Microsoft, and we've just detected that people in your zip code have been infected with this thing. And then they'll say, give us $300, send it to PayPal, and then it's gone. But of course, just to remind you, and you don't need reminding of this, I know, but people from Microsoft and Apple and Yahoo, they don't call you, never, ever. They will never. And of course, if someone offers to fix your computer because they've planted a virus in it, that's not going to be, they're not going to come through from one of the big companies. So if someone says, I'm from Microsoft, just hang up. They're never going to call you. I worked at Microsoft for 20 years. We're never going to call you. Trust me. And unless you have specifically got a problem and you've called them and got your phone number and whatever. But they're never going to just call you out of the blue. If someone's claiming to be a technician, they're probably not for real. But it's so, see, the thing is, all they need is 1 or 2 or 3 people to fall for this, and they've made their money for the day. They don't need to have 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people. Another one is identity theft, of course. This is a big one where someone, says they have got your information, your personal information, in order to reap some kind of financial benefit. They don't normally tell you, they just steal it. This is a tricky one. Banks are getting a little bit better, in my opinion, about contacting you if there has been unusual activity. But, there's just so much identity theft. So never give out your social security number. Just never give out private information on the phone to anybody that you don't know. Even with the bank, I will question it sometimes. Even when somebody calls me from, the healthcare something or other, they will use keywords that help you feel comfortable, and then off you go. So don't talk to them. Romance scams. These are, of course, the big ones for older women. They're most annoying. They're most humiliating. They're most degrading, and they're scary. They're creepy. They're very creepy. And these are just guys who have decided they're going to try to connect with you. They'll ask you sometimes on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere, I love your profile, or they'll empathize with you about something. Sorry you lost your husband. I'd love to be your friend. Would it be okay if I send you a friend request? That's the nice approach, in the sense that they're asking you, is it okay? And you don't have to answer at all. Do not answer. Don't answer. Don't answer. Don't say yes. Don't say no. Don't say go away. Just skip the comment. And just don't do anything. If you know how to block them and ban them, there are ways you can do that, and we'll talk about that on our call. But just don't answer. So they actually do a perch on social media sites like Facebook, also on dating sites, and you just have to be so careful. They've got a pattern. Their pattern is they'll befriend you, like I just described. They'll make you get a friend request. They'll tell you that you're gorgeous, that they've never seen anyone as beautiful. They'll often say things like, I travel a lot for my job, or I'm in the military, or, things that excuse their behavior. I've got my little throat here. I need some water. Anyway, they'll earn your trust, and then they'll break it. So, I will go into romance in a little bit more detail because it's a very big one, but just try to avoid the comments and don't be fed into their game. They'll often say they can't meet you in person, they can't talk on a certain, like you can't call them back because their phone's broken, and they're full of excuses. It's really scary. Tax scams, 1 second. Talking too much. This is a long video because there actually is a lot to talk about, and already I can see that I'm going over, but read the article and you will honestly learn so much. So tax scams, yes, the IRS will call you and say, we have money to give you, go to this website, give us your details, and that website is a scammer's website. They'll grab all your information and you'll never see your money or any tax benefits. The IRS does not call you. It's just like the other companies I mentioned. They don't call you. So if anybody says they're representing the IRS, just hang up. They're just not for real. They say pending refund, only for another 2 days, that you have to claim it. It's not real. And that's not just the IRS in the United States. In Canada, CRA in Canada, HMRC, Her Majesty's, whatever it's in UK, they won't call you. So don't even bother. It's just not real. But so many people believe it. And I know it's, you feel silly when you've done it. And that's, by the way, another reason that the elderly scams are so horrible, because they know that if someone gets scammed as an older person, they're not going to be likely to report it. They'll be so embarrassed and ashamed. Even if they've lost $1,000 or more, they'll just be nervous about admitting it. So that's something to think about too. Health scams, of course, selling expired meds with expiry dates. And there's all in the article, there's lots of information about how to avoid health scams. There are so many angles here, guys, but it's just, you avoid them, I think, by just not replying, being smart, getting savvy with technology. And the most important thing that Comparitech mentions here is don't underestimate scammers. Don't underestimate their deviousness, their persistence, their desire. There's sometimes very few laws that will punish them if they get caught. So there's no real motivation for not doing it. Just have a go, because if they get just, like I said, 2 or 3 people, that's it. that they don't need a huge number. So don't be a victim. Be strong, be smart, and take some time, if you've got it, to just get a cup of tea and just sit down and read this article. It will honestly open your eyes to so many different kinds of scams that target the elderly and help you to understand how you can avoid them. Really important. I hope that this has been a good overview. We're going to do, as I said, a video on an interview on Facebook specifically, which I think is very real for a lot of people, especially women over 60. But if you've got any specific questions, anything that you'd like to talk about, we'd like to keep this topic going, because I think, as you've seen already, there's 10 different categories that we could spend time on each one. So if there's something that you specifically would like more information on, please leave your comment in the section below, and we'll do our best to respond. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Be safe online, and we'll talk again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now. Take care.